welcome and to another episode of Chameleon Chat. Today I have Stephanie with me. Hey Stephanie, thanks for being here today. Would you like to tell a little bit about yourself while I take a swig of coffee?
Sure, I can do that. Thank you for having me. My name is Stephanie. I'm a domestic adoptee. I am also the Evolving Adoptee on social media. I am also the founder of the Adoptee Healing Collective. Um, what else do you want me to say? I've known you since 2019.
Yes,
Um, that was when I started the Evolving Adoptee. And actually, I think it might have been 2020 technically, but it was like the end of
it was.
2019. Yeah. Um, and when I started the Evolving Adoptee, it kind of opened an entire new world for me.
Mhm.
As I know, it was similar for you when you started the Chameleon.
Yes,
And we kind of entered the scene, if you will, at the same time.
we did.
So we were like, we were doing something that we had never done before
Right.
personally, so we were both kind of like fish out of water and really pushing our comfort zones
Oh
in
yeah.
a lot of ways.
Day.
um yeah, daily. And then we also were like fighting battles daily on social media. um
Out there and within ourselves.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
battles all over the place. But yeah, so I've been kind of like I've jumped in and out a little bit. I am now kind of I've shifted my focus to healing, and very intentionally healing. Um, so obviously knowing you has been great because you are, as I say, my yoga guru. But you do yoga and meditation and breath work and all of these things that are really important for healing.
It
Um,
helps being on social media to do those things, FYI.
yes, yes. But so that's what kind of brings me to where I am today. But like, what else do you want to know?
Hey, that was great. And that's why I asked Stephanie to be my first impromptu uh, adoptee or person, because I'm going to have a wide variety of people on Chameleon Chat. But Stephanie, I asked first, and that was the specific reason why I asked her, was because we literally did kind of bang heads. And then we just met up, and I felt like I had met a kindred soul when I
Mhm.
found the Evolving Adoptee. And see, the Evolving Adoptee was a great name because now you're more in the healing zone. So you
Yes.
did evolve. So
Yes.
perfect. And
Yeah.
I had started in 2019 also. Actually, I'd started on my personal page on Facebook and realized quickly that I would not have any friends left if I kept talking about
Yes.
it.
So
And
yes, that is actually how the evolving adoptee came about.
yeah.
And I'm sure for you that was how the chameleon also happened because we
Mhm.
needed a place to put all of this stuff because this stuff, the adoption stuff, does alienate people, um regardless of what we're saying.
Right, it does. And it was for me, I had been a marketing manager at Whole Foods Market. And and then, when they sold to Amazon, they let everybody go. But anyway, so I had been used to doing social media every day for years. Even after that, I had done it for small business and stuff. So I was always on social media daily, because I got paid to be there 7 days a week, all the time.
Right.
And Whole Foods was a really good one to cut your teeth on because not everybody liked healthy food and would get mad at you. It was, I still,
It was
I still
interesting,
laugh
right?
about that, but it was very interesting sometimes when people would get mad at you for trying to help people eat healthier. Anyway, I digress. So it led to when I got comments, which I still do, um, it kind of prepared me for that. And I knew that I had to brand myself. So the chameleon, to me, chameleons just adapt to survive. And I later on put the butterfly in there because of the transformation that I was having
Yes.
while being on social media, because that was my journaling. A lot of people journal, and I did too. I still do, but we heal in community, and I really was screaming at that time internally myself, and I
Mhm.
needed to be heard. And when I screamed out into social media on my platform in my voice in the way that I wanted to do it, I took back my control and my power doing it. Did I make mistakes in the beginning? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, y'all. I just apologize for about my learning curve in the beginning. So,
Same here. And actually, I had a very similar journey. I I'm a realtor now, but before that, I ran a home inspection company. And when I joined the company as their marketing coordinator, they had very minimal social media. So I and before that, I had a goat's milk soap business. I've done a lot of random things, but I'm also an
yes, you
artist.
have.
Yeah, I have a degree in studio art. So I've learned a lot about self-branding and I love branding. So
Hmm.
like the second my husband became a realtor, I was like, here's your logo. This is what we're doing. This is what
Yeah.
I'm going to do for you. Now that we work together, I still do all of our marketing. We have a trivia company. I do all of that marketing too. But same path. Like I had started in this healing journey, but also I was realizing I had trauma. I was estranged from both of my families, biological and adoptive, and I just was imploding in a way. And like everybody in my real life, like my in-person real life, obviously with a few exceptions of, great people, but most of the people in my life were really sick of hearing about me being an adoptee and me being upset and me learning this and learning this and learning that, like, and I know for you, like in 2019 it was like, oh my god, who's Georgia Tan, and we learned all of this and we're like,
Yes.
whoa. And then we also like,
Baby scoop era
we,
history.
yes, but then we also like read Anne Heffron's book
Yes.
around the same time.
Yep.
So, and the primal wound,
Primal
and
wound.
when
Body
you
keeps the
read,
score.
right, all of these like I would say like pivotal
Hmm.
learning curves, just on the
Aha.
trauma,
Mhm.
yeah, aha moments on the trauma journey. Your friends in real life, sadly, they just don't want to hear about it.
Or they
So
don't have the capacity because their own
that's
control,
actually
because
probably
that's a
more.
lot of it too.
That's the majority of really what I'm saying though, is that
Yeah.
they don't have the capacity, and we can't fault them for that. That is
No,
okay.
no, no.
I don't have the capacity to hear about another type, you know what I'm like,
Right. We all
it's
are,
hard.
our cups get full sometimes, and it's okay. I mean, we just,
Yes. Yes. So it's been a journey. And I think that like when you and I entered this scene, so the like class of 2019,
yeah.
but so then like COVID happened,
Yep.
right? So all of us are at home.
Yep. Well, I was working 3 jobs, but yeah,
Well, I was actually working too, but like things were different, right? Like
it's different.
social lives changed.
Yes,
So
social.
then I was like, okay, I have more time to think. This is terrifying, but also I very much needed it.
Yeah,
Um,
everyone needed it.
yes. And
I
I really leaned into the adoptee community, and then I started seeing like, oh, well, so what really started right what happened right before I started the Evolving Adoptee was I got kicked out of my first adoptee only group on Facebook. That was the catalyst where I was like, I mean, I hadn't had any arguments or any major drama. And when that happened, I was like, I need a place to put all of my thoughts. I can't rely on a group because this group might not be here forever. I can't, and also that was, you know, how I was feeling in my healing journey, not necessarily specific just to that, but that was kind of what was going on in my life. So I kept thinking, like, I need to create a place where I can, and I just thought, I'm going to make a group. But then I thought, I don't want to deal with other people's opinions. I just want to share my own.
Mhm,
So, like you said, it became the Evolving Adoptee page became a journal.
mhm.
And sometimes now I even look back or I look in the memories and I'm like, I shared that.
Yep, yep.
Like
Oh God,
it's
yes.
actually like I look back and I'm like, whoa, I just totally
What?
like I just put it all out there.
Just got it. I got it out. Woo! Did I get
Or
it out?
or so but like being kicked out of that group for me was like so devastating because that was the first one that I had joined. I don't even remember the name of it now. Um it's irrelevant, but that was a pivotal point. So then I started the Evolving Adoptee, and then I realized when you give yourself the power to have a voice, everything starts opening up. Like I became closer with you because now we're both voices, right? And then you start getting messages from other adoptees who are just like, holy crap, what you wrote in this post is whoa. So like then it's cool because I'm like I'm having all of these aha moments on my own journey. I can pass them on to other people. I can give them, and then I was like, "Oh my gosh." So then like you kind of realize that like your power gives other people power, and
Yep.
like the healing then ball just kind of starts rolling, and sharing is so much more powerful than I think a lot of people understand because yes, it is terrifying. It's terrifying,
Very.
but it's so therapeutic.
Yep.
Um the other thing that I think
How
we
we
both
create.
went
Sorry, I was going
no,
to
go
say it's
ahead.
how we create change. Also, if
Yeah.
we stay voiceless and silent, that's how systemic issues want it. They don't want you to
Yes.
talk about it. The adoption agency never wanted the adult adoptee to speak about their experience.
No,
That
definitely
is
not.
something that they have actually had to deal with now because me, you, and so many others spoke up about
Yeah.
their experiences. And that's why we're still speaking up. It's not to shame and blame people for what they did because they didn't know something. We
Right.
don't know what we don't know, right? And that's
Mhm.
why we talk about these things and educate people so that they'll know and
Yeah.
so that they're not alone. Just like you said, when I thought I made up chameleon and felt like an alien, all these words that we use and the fog, I thought I made all that stuff up.
That's how I felt about the evolving adoptee. I was like, I feel like I'm just this evolving thing that it keeps changing and I can't control it. I just have to like kind of like lean in. And it's funny because I've always identified with your name as well. Like I think all adoptees can identify with being a
Everyone.
chameleon. Um
That's why the group I created, the Adopting Chameleons,
mhm.
and I opened it up to all MPEs, and that is misattributed parental event for people that don't know what MPE is. That includes former foster youth, it includes people that are non-parental experienced, which is people like found out that
Yes.
through DNA that people like their dad usually wasn't their dad. It was a surprise
Yes.
later on in life, whether intentional or not. Again, no blaming and shaming here, people. But anyone that didn't grow up with their biological family is included in adopted chameleons. So,
Perfect. I love that. Yeah.
yeah, we all, I mean, and a lot of people, like like to point out in our comments, feel that way sometimes in their own biological family. And
Yes.
and I am going to talk to people on this channel about that too, because I'm going to give them a voice. They keep wanting to be a voice in ours, but I want them to understand that when it is an intentional act, a legal separation that you had no control over, it's a little bit different. And of course, we don't want anyone to grow up in a biological family or an adoptive family that feels isolated, alone. That again, that's why we're doing this, right? We're letting
Yeah,
people have a voice. We're not stomping on anybody, but we've heard
yeah,
those stories. It's our turn to get on the in the table. You know, we need to pull up our chair and say, "Hey, we have a story to tell." It's
yeah,
our
yeah. I agree. I think that they definitely deserve a seat at the adoptee table or whatever you want to call it.
turn.
Because I think that there is no one else who understands us to that like they can understand us more than a non-adoptee, right? Like so and I think it goes the other way too. Like we need the support. We all need the support.
Yeah.
Um one of the other things that I am super passionate about is any adoptee spaces. Even if the group isn't for me personally,
Mhm.
um there I say join all the groups.
Right.
Join all the groups, be in all the spaces because every group has something a little bit different to offer.
Right.
Every group offers a slightly different space. And
Mhm.
I think that every group is perfect for whatever phase you're on. And that's different for everybody, but I think that like those things, there can't be enough adoptee spaces, in my opinion. The
Yes.
more, the more, the better. Same with like adoptee memoirs,
Yes.
write your story, all of it.
All of it, all of it. Tell your story with what you're comfortable with, obviously.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's why journaling, if you aren't comfortable with social media or the groups, because I get messages from a lot of those adoptees too that are just straight up, I can't do this in public.
Yeah.
And so do what you're comfortable with, but let your voice out. It is one of
Yes.
the most important things to not feel alone anymore because that's how the trauma symptoms evolved through your life. You know, adoptees are 50.5% more likely to have addictions, which is a lot of us drink alcohol and to numb out. A lot of people do that for a lot of various reasons. It's very common. So that's something, but 50.5% for adoptees, that's a statistic that people don't get, that's something that if you're adopted, whether it's from infant
That's
or
that's
however,
crazy.
that's a crazy statistic. And
Well,
the
and sorry, but
go ahead.
coupled with the fact that we don't have family history. So
Exactly.
99% of the time as a young adult, you don't know if addiction runs in your family or alcoholism and I mean these things are linked to genetics.
Well, and also your natural family. I mean,
Right.
uh, my my biological mother was not addicted to alcohol, drugs, or anything, but my adopted parents were both traumatized and they adopted instead of actually working through the issues that they had, which were serious, and they did deserve help for that. They really did. But
Yeah.
they numbed out. My adopted father drank alcohol every day of his life. He went
Yeah.
to work every day too, but he
Right.
drank every day.
Yep.
And my adopted mother, lovely woman, and worked her butt off every day too, because they were poor. I was raised poor, but she numbed out with prescriptions because doctors gave them to her, so it was
So
okay.
it's okay. Yep.
So, but she
And
was
alcohol
trying to
is
take them
legal.
away from her. Yeah,
Well, and alcohol is legal, so it's okay.
yeah. So they didn't see that as any kind of problem, but I was raised around that every day.
Yeah. Well, in Wisconsin, you can take your kid to the bar. Wisconsin is heavy on the drinking. It's yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's and that's a whole nother topic about how
right.
normal it's made and how highly addictive it is and the issues
Mhm.
with it. But we digress, don't we? We could go down
Yeah.
so many different paths with this conversation. Um, okay, so we both came from this far off place that it seems now, back in
Right? It
2019,
feels like lifetimes
in the
ago.
before times. And during 2020, the pandemic and others were shut down, and a lot of people did go inward. A lot of people that I knew started new businesses, started journaling themselves. Even people that
Yes.
weren't adopted started doing a lot of work on themselves.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of my friends, we were all going through this at the same time, and going through things that happened in their childhood, and
Mhm.
finally talking about it. And I was just like, wow. I was like, what is going on? Because the earth shifted at that time. I
Well,
mean, it
and
was
once
an energetic
once
shift.
things start to settle and there isn't another thing to go to, right? Like we don't necessarily have the next appointment
Right.
or the next chore we have to do because we have time.
Yeah,
Now
we were made to feel
we
it.
well, now we're sitting here and we're like, "Wow, I really can't look at this wall that I never finished painting," because we're sitting here and looking at it for 8 more hours every day than we usually do. Or, "Wow, my brain really continues to think about this past memory
Yep.
because I'm not as busy as I was."
Yep. That's
It's harder
exactly.
to run away from these things.
Yeah.
So that's why I think a lot of people were forced to turn inward during COVID.
Yeah.
Um, and obviously, as an adoptee, the adoptee community at the time was kind of exploding. Um,
Exploding.
because I feel like too, one of the things that I know, for a lot of people, like, people hadn't really focused on online friendships as much. But during COVID, all of a sudden your real life friends are your online friends.
Yeah.
So now we're all comfortable zooming, right? Like at first I remember being like, I'm not going to get on
I know.
my webcam to like talk about what, just like have a drink and play a game. Like I was like, what? This is crazy.
Did
Yeah,
you
but like
flash back to like when you were young and they told you that telephones would have a screen someday? And I was like, oh, hell no.
yeah, right? Yeah.
I did. I literally thought that that would be just horrible when I was a kid. I was like, oh my God, they'll be able to see me without like makeup on and stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, and then
Yeah,
I'll have to
it's
get all
crazy.
pretty up
Yeah.
before I was like, and then now I'm like barely have my teeth, my toothbrush hanging out talking.
I know,
I
right?
was
I
like,
know.
hey,
Yeah.
what's up?
Right? You can only see from here up for a
Yeah,
reason.
it's like
Do
you
I
all
have
don't know what's
pants on?
happening down.
Do I have pants on? We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know, and we're not going to tell. That's our
But yeah,
business.
so I think that was a huge pivotal point in the adoptee community because people who were noticing symptoms in themselves that they weren't in love with, right? Like just you start realizing, oh wow, I'm obsessing about this, or I'm focused on this, or whatever it is. You kind of feel like, okay, now I need to start thinking about this. Like I want to fix this because it's in the forefront, right? It's like staring you in the face now.
Right.
Um, but I also think that that is when the adoptee community became a little bit of a rougher place
It was.
because we were all going through fear. We're all going through isolation. We're all, and so it's also hard because the adoptee community is a trauma
I
space.
was going to say our traumas were actually coming up. And
Yes.
so we might be snippy and snappy with each other, which
Yes.
led to heads butting. And yes,
More than usual because of
more,
course heads will
yes,
always butt,
right,
right? Like
right. But it definitely at that time it was, but because we were all going through that.
yeah.
And yeah, it was at that time though, if people, the ones that did go inward, now look at them. Because you can tell the people that actually did their work at that time because they're all on the other side now doing other things and they have evolved. And it wasn't only for the adoptee community, it was for the
Right.
world collective to actually do a
Absolutely.
reset. And so that's what I was like. I had some people that I know were sitting there just not going inward. And those
Oh,
people are
yeah.
still the same way now. And I'm
Mhm.
just hoping at some point that they're going to quiet their minds enough that they can hear themselves because that's what it is. It's just our self in there. When
Mhm.
your anger comes up in that way, ask it, what's it protecting? Why?
Right. Right.
Why? Why are you so mad? When I get this one, I'm sure you do too. When people are just being hateful in your comments section, and um, people say, how do you handle that? How do you, you go through that? And the simple answer is I know that that's them. It's not
Yeah,
me. It's
right.
them.
Yeah.
There's an internal struggle going on. I just brought it to the light. And if they
Mhm.
sit with it a minute, I've actually done them a favor. And
You
I know
planted
that sounds weird. I planted that seed. I
you
shook
planted the
them up.
seed.
I shook them off of their comfort zone just enough to get them uncomfortable so that they might pick up a book. They might listen to a
Right.
podcast. They might go to
Or
different
just
adult,
scroll through your page.
mine or someone else's.
Yeah.
If you don't like
Yeah.
it, that's fine. Move on. Go look at the Evolving Adoptee. Go look
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yes. Yep.
Because that's
Yep.
why you were saying there's so many voices and why it's so important. And it is because people don't always hear everyone. And
For
because a
sure.
whole lot of people say the same things. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all out there with our own voice and our own way saying it, but we are kind of saying the same thing. And one of
Yep.
us says a sentence this way, one of them says a sentence that way, one has a tone this way, one
Yep.
looks this way, one whatever it is, but it gets through to the person at the time that they need it. So
Yeah.
we all just got to keep saying it, right?
Yes. Yeah. I would say that's the worst part of sharing on a public space is getting the backlash. And I personally have pretty thick skin because I was in the serving industry for over a decade. So like
Retail and service, yep.
yeah, so I've personally I have thick skin in those situations. Um, but that doesn't mean that I don't get triggered, right? And that doesn't mean that I don't struggle or do the wrong thing. Um, I guess I just feel like at this point I've just seen it all in the community. You know, like I've been accused of
Telling you one the other day.
yeah, oh, I'm sure, but I've been accused of plagiarism. I've been kicked out of groups. There have been an admin meeting from one group about me and that was completely unfounded. So like I have I have had best friends in the community and I've had fallings out with those friends. I have reconnected with those friends and then had another falling out. I have been accused of creating an adoptee army to attack adoption agencies. Um,
Not a bad idea.
it's not the worst thing. I'm like, I have not made an army, but I will take it.
Where
Sure,
to
that
sign
sounds
up.
cool. Yeah, I was like, "That sounds cool. I'll start" it's like a club. I'll start it, whatever. Um, but it's just interesting because you kind of run the gamut, you know, you get messages, and I know you do too, you from, like, adoptive parents or
Mhm.
biological parents that are just cruel. They are the meanest of the mean, but again, exactly like you said, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of about how they feel. So and I didn't know that in 2019 when I started. I didn't know that. I learned it along the
I
way in
logically
therapy.
knew it, but did not feel it in my bones. I had
Right.
to
Yeah, okay,
integrate it
that's
into my body.
I knew it here, I didn't
Right.
know
I
it
knew it here.
here.
Because my cognitive behavioral therapy worked logically, all of that worked, but I still was stuck with just the top and not the bottom. I had to get
Same.
it all integrated, and that's where you got to
Yes,
feel it all. And that's where
yes,
those triggers, if you can sit with them, if they're not too painful and you can work with it, that's how you grow. You've got to be
yep,
able to sit in that uncomfortable moment as long as it's okay, because there are some of them that you're going to need help and you're going
yeah,
to need to break it apart and
yes,
go very, very slow with, especially with something like reunion
mm,
or something big that has a shocking factor, because that is something that I know you went through, I went through, and
yes,
pretty much all adoptees that I've talked to that are completely out of the fog and on their
yeah,
path of I understand now. Yeah, that it came with a very blow. Like it was a shock out of the system. It literally changed who you were. It was, I always call it my rebirth because
Yes,
I became a
completely.
completely different person. I was still, that person still exists that I was before, but I'm completely different now. I had
Yeah,
to reintroduce
same.
myself to people and I lost friends
Yeah,
because
oh,
I wasn't that person anymore.
yep. Yep, same. And it's interesting because the second you start to work on your trauma, it shifts you and starts shifting like when the trauma starts moving around inside you, things start changing because you realize I don't want to be like you I didn't man, if you would have met me in 2019 before I got married, I would have been like these are my best friends. We have completely equal relationships. There is like a great give and these are my friends. These are great whatever. The second I started going through my trauma, I was like, wait, so if I don't say yes, we have friction. Now we're like I don't fight with friends. I was like, this is insane. So and it just slowly everything started kind of, I guess, unraveling
Yes, it felt like
or
it.
maybe like coming to light.
Both, a little of both.
And I would like once I started finding my voice and I was like, well, no, I don't agree with that. And it could be something super, mundane, like
Mhm.
something that's not charged at all. And I would still catch conflict. And I was like, I don't understand why I am catching conflict everywhere I go when I am just trying to keep my head above water. Like, I'm not trying to rock the boat. I'm not trying to be difficult. I am not trying to fight. I am just trying to figure this out. And it's very interesting how that happens. And then there's like different phases of the break off of people.
Yeah, I have some thoughts about that, and I looked it up when I was doing my polyvagal theory training and stuff.
Yeah.
When our when we were going through that first initial shock, unraveling, coming to the light, all of those things that you were talking about, because it does. There's there's a lot of feelings. You go through pretty much every emotion that you can possibly have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and
And
it's
sometimes
so
in 1 minute.
intensified. Yeah, in 1 minute. Yes, you're right. I mean, it's. I know. I thought I was crazy. I was like, this.
Oh,
There goes my brain. It's just gone now. Bye bye. And but the but the truth of the matter is when we come out of that into that shocking moment, we do go back into that fear-based place because we go into survival because we have rebirthed and our cognition actually is impaired at that time when we're
yes.
doing this kind of work. Because I looked back, like you said, I've looked back at some of those things and reread it, and in some of my comments I was like, why did I say that? Did I not see
Yeah,
what they said?
yeah,
And
did I
I
not read?
didn't. I
Well,
didn't
because
see it.
yes,
I didn't recognize what was actually happening. I was so defensive that I came off as well, not the best person. And again, apologies to anyone I did that to. But
yep,
it was because I really didn't see it or hear it. And
yeah,
it freaks me out now that that's what happens. So that's when these comments come in. I see it and recognize it. And it
yeah,
doesn't, I don't let it affect me anymore. Now, yes, there are certain ones that trigger
of
me. I
course.
have to go look new ones up, like the one I got this week. Woo! I'm going to share a video about that one because I was like, that one was a personal threat. But
What
anyway,
is it? Do you wanna share it?
yeah, it was, made a comment. It said, there are places, it said, you can, it was the MAID program, MAID. I didn't know what that was. I looked it up and they had a finger and it said, this is place for you. And if you
I
know
saw
what
the
that
comment,
is,
but I also didn't know what it was.
I didn't know what it was. And it is, they basically euthanize you. That's a place, it's legal euthanization. So the person was telling me to myself.
Dude, sh
So I was like going, woo, okay. Um,
wow.
so I really
Wow.
apparently shook that person up, but that person is dangerous. So
Yeah,
there are times when people are straight up dangerous. And that is another part of talking out. We have to protect ourselves.
Yes.
And we don't have to put up with any of it. You can always block and ignore people too.
Always.
Take
Yep.
that power and don't do anything if you don't want to. You can turn comments off, people. You
Yep.
can post anonymously. There are things you can do if you really want to be out there on social media
Absolutely.
to
Yes.
protect yourself. But
And then also just build yourself an army so you can tap into the army when these things
that's
happen.
yes, and know when to walk away. When it is
Yeah.
truly triggering you and you are up in your feels that are not
Yeah.
healthy, walk away. Go outside, walk a dog, pet a cat, something, but don't
Yes.
stay in there. And I appreciate y'all taking time and making comments and going, you need to stop, Lorraine, this is bad for you. I appreciate that, but y'all have to remember I'm a marketing manager too, and there's an algorithm.
Yeah, and, like, the argument, like, keep it sure, great, awesome. Yes,
I
send
mean,
it
there
to your
was
friend,
one woman that probably
send it to
boosted my
your aunt.
algorithm alone the other day, just with all her comments. I was like, I thanked her too. I was serious about that thank you. I wasn't even being sarcastic. I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and thank her. And I told her to stop using her energy. She could go do something else. It was up to her. And
Yeah,
that's what I am telling you, people. It's a choice. And if
yes.
people are putting these comments out there, thank them for letting us know who they are. We don't have
Right.
to engage. You don't have to give them your energy.
Yeah, you can just slowly block all of these unsafe people, and that can be also a way to weed them out.
Yeah. And now you know who they are because they put their full face out there saying,
And I would say too, like, for people who don't share publicly like you and I do, I understand the fear, but that is why we also both utilize adoptee spaces online. There are so many private adoptee only groups,
"Mhm,
and I hate it when people say that no thought is original, but really in adoptee groups kind of no thought is original. Only because, like, when you're in the circle of thoughts, like, we all eventually get to the similar thoughts. So I search for things in groups all the time.
so what
Be
groups, I want you to go ahead and talk about your group and say
Yeah.
like the top ones that you like.
I so the group that I run is the Adoptee Healing Collective group. So in that group, we focus on healing. So it's a lot of conversations about meditation or yoga or things like that. So again, like, I love that that is the focus of this group.
Mhm.
I love your group, the adopted, is it the Adopted Chameleons?
Yes, yes, on the
Yes. And I love that group because that is a large group. So I know that if I post in your group, I'm going to get a variety of answers. And I really appreciate the variety of that. I like the fireside group
Yep,
for the group chats that they do
yep.
and some other events because I think that the more events, the better. Oh, your group has the art group too.
Yes, yeah, we've got one coming up, and
Yes.
I'll
Um,
have to post it in the notes when the date is
yeah,
because I forgot off the top of my head.
yeah, no, it's coming up in April. I
Yes,
wanna
it is.
say
It's coming up
April,
soon. Yeah,
is it
yeah.
April 6th?
Let me look it up real quick. Let's look it up.
It's okay. It just
Sage
I
is
don't
leading it, so that's why I don't know.
yeah,
Usually I know where people
yeah,
are like, she
it's
doesn't know
okay.
what's happening in her
Um,
group. Yeah, I do know. I just yes, it is April 6th.
okay, yes. So that's super cool because I love that there's now, like, if you are an adoptee and you're into writing, there's writing groups. If you are an
Yes.
adoptee and you're into reading, there's book groups.
Yes.
If you are into art, there's an art group. If
Yep.
you are
Yeah.
LGBTQ, there's a group, like, for whatever.
Transracial,
Yeah,
international, there's
yeah,
groups for there's niches in
yeah.
everything and it's perfect.
There's
Even
some, like,
birth parents too. They
yeah,
have healing groups, different
yeah.
things.
So, there's one other one. Let me just, like, scroll through my phone because I just can't remember the names of all of them.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree with you on fireside adoptees. I think that's a great one. Your group, I really like.
oh, adopted adult support, or no, is it adoptees supporting adoptees? Adoptees supporting adoptees.
Yes. I was like, there's some that I have a weird kind of
They're kind of
dyslexia.
similar.
Yeah.
They're all similar enough. Usually I just go
I
into
can't
groups and pick
remember the names because of my dyslexia, because they have the
that.
same letter and I get them mixed up. And
Yes.
y'all, if I get that mixed up, that is because I do have a dyslexia that does that.
I have that with numbers. And let me tell
Yes.
you, as a realtor, it is a
Ooh,
little bit of a roulette
yeah.
sometimes.
If people have the same first initial in their name or words or something, I switch them. I get them confused.
Yeah. Yes. But so I would say that one. So adoptees supporting adoptees. But I'm in a lot of them. I
Me
mean,
too. I
the
can't keep
su-
up.
the suicidal adoptee group,
Yep.
the adoptee garage.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm in a lot of different groups, but what I always say whenever I have this conversation with anyone, specifically adoptees who are like newer to the community, join all of the groups, but exercise the mute button. You like there are times
Good
when
advice.
when like for whatever reason, maybe I comment on something or I like something, and then all of a sudden it's like I see like 15 posts from one group. Sometimes then I have to mute it because it's like it was like one angry post and then something else and then another angry, it's like it just is like too much. So like
Mhm.
you don't have to leave the group. You
Right.
can. I also tell everyone, I'm like, if this group is not for you, leave whenever you want and you can come back anytime. I
Right.
don't keep track of that. I don't know who you like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
I don't know either.
right.
I
And
don't
like
keep track
so
of it, honestly. I don't
yeah,
know.
so I mean, I've bounced in and out of groups. I mute groups. I snooze people if it's sometimes it's just too much. And I forget. Like I'll be like, "Oh, why am I not snoozing this person?" This person every time I'm like, I don't want to unfriend them because I don't dislike them, but I don't agree with what they're posting. So every time I see it, I'm like, or whatever, then you have to curate
You have to take care of yourself.
you have to curate your social media. So, like, people who take social media breaks, I totally
Oh,
understand.
absolutely.
I am not that person because of the businesses I run. I just re-curate my feed or who I follow whenever I want to.
Yeah. It's good advice. And um, we're almost at the end. So, with that, what other good advice do you have if someone is listening and this is like maybe the first conversation that they've heard adult adoptees? What advice would you give them if they're an adopted person? Let's be specific to an adopted person. Then we'll give some advice to adopted parents. How about that?
That sounds good. To adoptees who are seeing this, I would say remember that every story is different. So take it hear them all if you can. Take them all in. They all have a place. But like I said before, curate your feed and listen to yourself.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? When you're consuming too much, take a step back. I tell everybody I meet, I'm like, it's okay to be in and out of the community as you see fit because we don't do anything 100% of the time all the time. You know
Right.
what I like even in our in real life, like we just don't.
Yes.
So and like even friends come in waves like in real life. So, you know, lean in when you're there and when you need it because we're always there.
Hmm.
The community's not going anywhere, it's just growing.
That's right.
And also therapy.
Yes. And it's very important. I'm glad you brought this up, and we're going to hit this right here at the end to find a therapist that is trauma informed. And
Yeah.
a lot of them will say that. So ask questions. And I have a few that I will throw in just here at the end. Ask them if they've ever had an adoptee or in therapy before. Ask them if they have a connection to adoption.
Yes.
Also, ask the therapist if they go to a therapist and what they do to help themselves. You'll understand if they understand adoption from all perspectives and not
Yep.
just the adopted parent. And you will also understand if they are trauma informed, because if a therapist doesn't go to a therapist themselves and doesn't do anything to help themselves, I would probably not go to that
I
therapist. Me
always
personally would not
I
go.
I always say that because my therapist has a therapist,
Oh, yeah.
and in addition to that, she has many, like, clinician groups of therapists. She has one for her EMDR group, she has one for she is in a lot of communities
Yeah.
because she needs
Right.
this.
And they understand that we all have issues, and just because you might be a professional at understanding trauma like I am,
Yeah,
and because I am, I've studied under some of the best, so I consider myself now, after years of working with this, I consider myself an expert and can speak to it. Am I an expert? Nope, but I'm on my way. But- So if you understand trauma, you understand that you will also have to help. Even though you are a helper, you have to be helped too. It's cyclical.
yes,
It's not a
yes,
straight line, because we will come times that things will come up that we will have to get help with.
yeah,
It could be anything, grieving a lost a loved one or something like that. But the other very, very, very important thing is, if you have trauma, which all infant adoptees will have pre-verbal trauma,
yes,
and even older children after separation will have this trauma, even if it
mhm,
was when you had it very, very young, especially when you had it very, very young before you had the language to let it out, you will need to work with your body.
yep,
And I know I'm an embodiment instructor. This is not a commercial for my group. Yes, I would love to have you in my group. Yes, but find what you like. Whether
mhm,
it's yoga, whatever somatic body movement you like, it could be kickboxing, it can be jogging, it can be whatever. Dance is a wonderful one.
yes,
Find what works for you. Actually, you're going to need a lot, because you're going to need a daily practice. That
mhm,
is the key to staying in a homeostasis state, where those triggers don't pull you down on a daily basis, where you can hit a trigger and go down and go, you know what? That was a bump. We're right back up.
we're okay.
Yeah, it's very important to get that body work done. So
Yes, 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 yes.
I just wanted to throw that in there. And that's for
Yeah,
anybody.
absolutely.
What advice would you give an adopted parent if they're listening to us and they're like going, oh my God, they might be clutching their pearls at this moment or something. I hope they're
They
not.
probably
But
do have
if they've made it this far, they're probably not clutching their pearls.
I love this question. I I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say what I want to say. If you are an adoptive parent, you need to remember that regardless of what you have done to become a parent, you are basically a step parent. And that hurts. I understand that. But that doesn't mean that you aren't the primary caregiver. And when your adoptee has questions, because they will, when your adoptee has questions, when your adoptee wants to search, because they will, go on the journey with them. Embrace all of it because it's not about you. And guess what? Are we going to ask you to pick your favorite child? No, we are not going to be asked to pick our favorite parent. I am allowed to have four parents because guess what? I have four
You
parents.
have four parents, yeah.
It is what it is.
It is
If
what it is.
there's jealousy between them, that's a problem they need to work out. Do not bring it into my circle. Because if you want your adoptee to be in your life as an adult, you need to be in on the journey. You cannot make them choose. You cannot make them feel like, but I'm your real mom. You're all the real moms. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it needs, you have to think about it as a blended family, because even if the adoptee does not have a relationship with the biological family, they need the right and the space to do that search. And then if there is rejection or there is turmoil, you need to be a soft landing,
Yes. Yeah.
because
That's
it's hard for everybody. And also, your adoptee is going to be navigating your feelings whether you tell them to or not, because that is what we are trained to do.
Right.
So you need to give it back. You need to make sure that you were there for your adoptee on this road because it is hard.
Yeah, it's natural to want to know where we come from. I mean, that's why there's genealogists. That's why there's the field of it, you know,
Yep.
looking up our ancestors. That's just a normal feeling. And adopted children shouldn't be punished or held back or lied to because they have a normal feeling. I appreciate
Right.
that. I appreciate that advice. And
Yeah.
I hope everybody takes what we said and if learn from what you like and if leave the rest if you don't, you know, but sit with anything that maybe made you a little bit uncomfortable and just think about it and listen to other adoptees and
Oh, do you want to know what my word for, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the year or the month or whatever, but my word currently is just notice.
notice. Yeah, notice.
It's in meditation, it's in therapy, it's in yoga, it's in everything. Just notice how you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. That and that's it sounds I say that on the mat all the time. Just notice how you feel when
Yeah.
something is making you uncomfortable. And that's
Without judgment.
without judgment and with acceptance.
Yes, just notice it.
Yeah, it's okay. We're all on this big marble together and we're trying to figure it out the best that we can. So we hope that you will continue listening. And I want to thank you, Stephanie. I will put the links and things that we talked about in the show notes here. And I hope that you all will subscribe, like, comment, and help my page grow. And I appreciate everybody watching today. Thanks, Stephanie.